Hey everybody, Dino here, and today I thought I'd discuss how to get the best possible Wi-Fi reception in your home. So let's start off with a couple of graphics here. Right here is a Wi-Fi access point. This is also would be called your Wi-Fi router or wireless router. We're going to call it Wi-Fi access point or wireless access point just to make things simple. It's basically the device that you use to connect your computer, laptop, or other devices to your internet at home. So this is that device, and the circle around it represents the coverage, or how far it covers. This gray square over here is going to represent your house or your home or your apartment, or the area that you want covered by Wi-Fi access. So there may be multiple rooms in here, multiple levels, etc. So typically what you need to do when you place your access point is to place it in the exact middle of the area where you want covered, because it will give the best coverage. Now some of the coverage may fall outside of the area that you want, or some of it may fall inside short, depending on how large the area is and how much coverage your Wi-Fi access point has, and if there are any sources of interference within the area. So a lot of times you'll see here, like if this were a house and this were the Wi-Fi coverage, you can see areas of the circle spilling outside the walls. That's why a lot of times outside your home or your apartment or wherever the access point is, you can actually get reception there because it's spilling outside of it. Now most access points have enough coverage so that they would be much larger than the square, so the square would be totally covered, although there may be some areas where there were blank spots. So if we look at the square, we want to cover the total amount that we can. If there are areas in the corners that are out of coverage, and there will be areas where there are spots that aren't in coverage, it's not as big of a deal as long as there aren't devices there. Now, if we put this access point towards the right side of this house or whatever, you'll see this area, this gray area right here, is not covered by the area of the wireless access point. Now, you can look in your manual to see what the coverage is. Generally, the circle from the center, the wireless to the edge, would be about 100 feet or 200 feet. And then there's an area outside of the circle that still actually has coverage, but it's not as strong. It gets weaker and weaker. So in your manual, they will typically tell you the maximum area of coverage that has a reasonable signal in it, is what they're telling you. So typically, this would cover a larger area, would cover this entire square, but the closer you get to the access point, the better the coverage. So we're going to say that this circle is our good area, or our best area of coverage. And outside of it, although we may get coverage here in the gray, it's going to be spotty or not as good. Sometimes it might be okay, actually. But we want things to fall within the best range of coverage, or as close to the access point as possible. So we want to set this somewhere in the middle of the house, ideally, to start with. Now suppose we have a PC and we place it in the house right here. You can see this is in the area of good coverage, and there's nothing blocking the wireless transmission from this PC to this PC. Now if we put a PC right here, it's actually outside of the coverage. What we could do is we could actually move the access point so that we got coverage for both devices. So that's one thing we can do. We can move it around. If these are the only two devices in our house, for example, let's say this is in this corner and this is over here, we could actually move the access point to make sure we got the best coverage for these two PCs or devices. But any device that would be sitting outside of here would be problematic. So for instance, if this is outside of the coverage range, we would either be getting spotty coverage or may not be getting coverage at all there. So we'd have to remove this circle to get coverage for all PCs, or to get the best coverage for it. Now this one up in the corner could end up borderline where it was on the edge of coverage and was still getting good enough coverage. We'd have to test that. But we may get spotty coverage there every now and then as well. So we want to move the access point so it gets the best coverage for all of the PCs and devices that you tend to use. All right, so another problem that can happen is Wi-Fi uses what's called line of sight frequency. A line of sight frequency is a higher frequency, and it can be blocked by things such as brick walls or concrete walls or metal and such. So if we have a concrete wall between the Wi-Fi access point and this PC, that is going to cause problems. The brick wall can either absorb all or part of the signal, and it can absorb enough of the signal so that we're not getting good reception here. It's either spotty or it's just not connecting, or there are too many errors is what happens. So we want to be careful of walls like this. For example, we could possibly place this on the other side of the wall, but as you can see, it's out of range for this PC and out of range for this PC. We could probably move it maybe up there so the wireless access point was on the other side or around the wall somehow. So if there's a wall where you can place this around it, that's one alternative. For example, I've seen where there's been like a metal duct. Metal ducts will block Wi-Fi signals, and the metal duct was in such a place where coverage just goes on the first floor, but the metal duct was above the Wi-Fi access point, so the areas upstairs that needed coverage were being blocked by this metal duct. And just by moving the access point over a little or out of the way, the duct was not in direct line. So if, for example, we move this down over here, that wall isn't a problem because it's out of the way. So you can actually move the access point a few feet sometimes, and it will get around a source of interference or something that's blocking the signal. So we have this back here again. Now, another problem we might have is, say we put this access, say we move this access point to here, and we're able to get these PCs. These PCs are covered by this, and this is the best point for our access point, let us say. We'll actually take this wall out for now. So let's say, let's move this out here. So let's say we get our access point, and the best point is right here to get access to these two PCs. But let's say we have a PC down here. Now, it's far enough out of this optimal circle and in an area where it's not getting really good coverage. All right, so say we have an instance where this is our optimal placement for the Wi-Fi access point, or we can't move the Wi-Fi access point from here for whatever reason. It may be upstairs on another level, it may be on the other side of a house, and the coverage may not be getting to a PC down here. What we can do is we can get something called a Wi-Fi extender. And we place the Wi-Fi extender so this PC is within the range of the Wi-Fi extender, and this circle from the Wi-Fi overlaps this wireless access point. So the Wi-Fi extender connects to the wireless access point, and it relays things to this PC. So we've actually added basically another access point, and we've increased our area of coverage. So that's one solution that you can use to get around a problem where a PC is on a lower level or an area or corner of the house where you can't get coverage and you can't move the wireless access point for some reason, or you can't move it into a location that will cover all of the PCs. If you get into a location where it covers most of the PCs, you can put up a Wi-Fi extender. This is very useful for multiple level houses because sometimes lower levels don't get as good a Wi-Fi access, and so you can put an extender somewhere on the lower level that's close enough to where the access point coverage for the main access point can reach the Wi-Fi extender. So that's another solution for the problem. If you're getting poor coverage, you can purchase a Wi-Fi extender from Best Buy or from Amazon.com or another electronic retailer. So let's remove this for now, and let's go back here. Let's put everything in here. So that would be our ultimate coverage. So let's say we have our PCs all within the circle. There's nothing apparently blocking it. There are no ducts or brick walls or any dense barrier in between any of these things. Sometimes there might be a column actually that's made out of brick or concrete, and you can just move the PC or the device slightly and get around that, or you can move the access point and get around that, as long as there's nothing that's very dense that can be blocking the signal. And sometimes even that there's something dense in the way, say right here, if it's not too big, the signal will go around it. The other thing that you have to look out for, so you have to look out for the fact that it has to be within the circle of coverage, or within the optimal circle of coverage, or where there's a strong enough signal. And you have to make sure there's no barriers in the way between devices. But the other thing you have to look out for is any sort of interference, such as RF, or radio frequency interference. Microwaves can interfere with the Wi-Fi. Fortunately, most of the time in a home, a microwave is only on short bursts of time, so it's either not going to be noticeable or not a real problem most of the time when you're on the internet, if somebody's using the microwave. If you're in a public space and people are constantly using the microwave, that can be a problem. Electric motors can cause interference with radio frequency devices like Wi-Fi, and other electronic devices can cause problems. So that's one thing you want to look for. Also, any sort of metal shielding. One thing that I've run into before in commercial environments is sometimes there'll be whiteboards in rooms, and a lot of those whiteboards have a metal backing to them, or aluminum backing, and that is a metal shielding, and it will block Wi-Fi signals, and so multiple access points will have to be put in so that there's another access point to cover an area that's blocked from a main access point. All right, so those are some of the things you can do to get better Wi-Fi reception in your home. I'm Dino, and this has been Dino's Tech World, and whatever you do, enjoy the day, and I will talk to you soon.